So this is probably the shortest PowerPoint presentation you'll ever see in your life. It's one slide, but I think I can say everything that needs to be said in one slide. So social psychology is the scientific study of how people influence each other's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Social influence can be obvious or it can be very subtle. We can be influenced by people who are physically present, or the memory of someone, or even a future situation. We can be influenced by others without even realizing it, by our culture, the national standards we have, our social expectations, and by local community norms. Social psychology is the confluence of social thinking, social influence, and social behavior. So if you took a social psychology class, these are some topics you probably cover. You include how you develop your sense of yourself, your social self. So like, for example, if you've had sociology through play or interacting with other people, how you think socially, some of the rules of interaction among people, and how you come to know who you are, your perception of yourself as a person and other people. But the real meat of social psychology starts in item 4, how you develop your attitudes and persuade other people. Super important. Social influence, conformity, social roles, and obedience is probably the biggest area of social psychology in terms of research. What I've done is I've included in readings for you, I think probably the 4 of the most influential psychology articles ever written. One of them is by Philip Zimbardo, and you'll find all these in the learning supplies or learning materials. On the Abu Ghraib, not Abu Ghraib, but the Stanford Prison Project, which has been applied to Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq. The line conformity study by Solomon Asch, which is also a classic. And of course, maybe one of the most influential of all, Stanley Milgram's Obedience to Authority. And the videos and reading material explain this pretty clearly, but they have to do with how you influence other people. Group processes, that is how people behave amongst each other in groups. People are far different, for example, one-on-one as they are in a group. The ever-present stereotyping, prejudice, and discrimination. Of course, stereotyping, you realize, are kind of shortcut ways of thinking about groups of people. Prejudice, of course, is typically negative, but they can be positive, but mostly negative attitudes toward other people. And discrimination is negative behavior toward other groups of people. The 8th one is helping in pro-social behaviors. So, for example, when do people decide to get involved in helping? There are rules about doing this. And I've included an article by Darlene Latine that is another classic study in social psychology. The field of aggression. When do people act aggressively? Or what circumstances? And of course, last but not least, intimate relationships. So that's a good kickoff for lots of viewing and reading, so good luck.